Picture yourself standing in the middle of ancient ruins. Around you, broken marble pillars rise like ghosts of a forgotten age. The air is still, heavy with memories. You can almost hear the sound of marching feet, the clash of iron, the chants of soldiers shouting in one voice. That echo, that rhythm, that force was Rome. Over 2,000 years ago, a small tribe living by the Tiber River began a journey that would reshape the world. No kings guided them, no divine miracles blessed them. What they had was determination, ambition, and a belief that they were born for greatness. Many civilizations had risen before. Egypt built pyramids that touched the sky. Greece gave birth to philosophy and art. But Rome was different. Rome wanted to last forever. Rome did not just conquer land. It conquered time. The Romans believed their city was born from destiny. The story of two brothers, Romulus and Remus, is told in every generation. Twins abandoned at birth, left to die beside the river. A she-wolf found them and raised them until a shepherd took them in. When they grew up, they decided to build a city. But ambition divided them. Romulus killed Remus and became the first king of Rome in 753 BCE. Historians may call it a myth, but evidence shows that around that same time, small settlements appeared on the Palatine Hill. Farmers and warriors built homes there, carving a new life out of nothing. It was the start of something that would never fade. In 509 BCE, the Romans made a choice that would change history. They overthrew their last king, Tarquin the Proud, and declared that never again would one man hold absolute power. They created the Republic. Power would belong to the people. They called it the res publica, meaning the public thing. This was more than politics. It was an idea, a promise that every citizen would serve the state, not themselves. Ambition was allowed, but only if it served Rome. From that belief came their unmatched sense of duty. A Roman boy was raised with one purpose: to live, fight, and die for Rome. At first, Rome was small and surrounded by enemies. The Etruscans to the north, the Samnites to the south, and the Greeks across the sea. Every direction brought danger. Rome could have been destroyed 100 times, but each time it was attacked, it learned, it adapted, it came back stronger. By 338 BCE, Rome had conquered the entire region of Latium. By 272 BCE, it ruled all of Italy. They built roads to move armies faster. They formed alliances instead of only taking slaves, and they built a reputation of never giving up. Historian Polybius, writing in the 2nd century BCE, said that Rome's greatness did not come from luck. It came from character. To be Roman was not about birth, it was about belief. The Romans used a word that defined their entire way of life: virtues. It meant courage, strength, loyalty, and honor. A Roman general who lost a battle did not hide in shame. He returned to the Senate, faced his peers, and swore to fight again until victory was restored. This sense of accountability made Rome unbreakable. In 390 BCE, the city was burned to the ground by a tribe of Gauls. The temples were looted, the streets destroyed. Most nations would have disappeared, but the Romans rebuilt. Brick by brick, they rose again. That moment defined their destiny. Rome learned that power comes from resilience. The greatest test of Rome's spirit came in 264 BCE. Across the sea, in North Africa, stood Carthage, a mighty empire led by merchants and generals. When the two powers clashed, the ancient world shook. In 218 BCE, Carthage's most famous general, Hannibal, crossed the Alps with his army and elephants. His tactics destroyed Roman forces again and again. For 15 years, Hannibal fought inside Italy, burning cities and humiliating Roman legions. But Rome did not surrender. They rebuilt their armies. They studied Hannibal's strategies and learned from every defeat. In 202 BCE, Under the leadership of Scipio Africanus, the Romans faced Hannibal at the Battle of Zama. This time, the Romans used his own tactics against him. Carthage was crushed. Rome had not just won a war, it had rewritten the rules of warfare. By 146 BCE, Carthage was completely destroyed. Its people enslaved, its walls burned, its ground cursed. The Mediterranean Sea now belonged to Rome. From Spain to Greece, from North Africa to the Middle East, the Roman flag ruled the horizon. What made Rome so powerful was not only its weapons, it was its order. A Roman legion was a living machine. 5,000 men trained to move as one, to fight as one, to die as one. Every man knew his duty. Every mistake had a price. Discipline was sacred. Historian Livy wrote that Rome's strength came not from numbers, but from obedience. That obedience made the Roman army unstoppable. Outside the battlefield, the same discipline built cities, aqueducts, and roads that still survive today. Roman engineers carved tunnels through mountains, built bridges over rivers, and created a network of 50,000 miles of stone roads. These roads became the arteries of an empire. When the saying goes, "All roads lead to Rome," it is not a metaphor. It was true. Rome was more than a city. It was an idea. The belief that chaos could be turned into order and that laws could bring peace. When Rome conquered new lands, it did not erase cultures. It absorbed them. The conquered people were allowed to keep their gods and traditions as long as they respected Roman authority. That policy made people want to become Roman citizens instead of rebels. By the time Julius Caesar was born in 100 BCE, Rome had already become the center of the world. Its borders stretched across continents, and its name inspired both fear and respect. In 49 BCE, Julius Caesar made a decision that changed everything. He crossed the Rubicon River with his army, defying the Senate. He knew what that meant. Once he crossed, there was no turning back. That act ended the Republic and began the Age of Emperors. It was the moment Rome transformed from a republic built on duty into an empire driven by destiny. After Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, his adopted son Octavian, later known as Augustus, took control. Under his rule, the Roman Empire reached its golden age. For over 200 years, known as the Pax Romana, the world experienced peace and prosperity unlike anything before. The empire stretched from Britain to Egypt, from the Atlantic to the deserts of Arabia. Trade flourished, culture thrived, and Rome stood as the heart of civilization. The poet Virgil wrote that Rome's mission was to rule nations with justice, to bring peace to the world, to spare the defeated, and to humble the proud. Think about this for a moment. A city that began as a few wooden huts on a hill had become the capital of the known world. Its armies controlled continents. Its laws shaped generations. Its culture lived in every corner of its empire. But behind that greatness was pain. Blood spilled on battlefields, lives lost in ambition, and endless wars for glory. Rome was not just great because of what it achieved. It was great because of what it endured. Even after its fall, its spirit survived. Every modern power that came later, from Britain to America, borrowed from Rome's structure, discipline, and vision. The historian Edward Gibbon once wrote that if a man had to choose the time when humanity was happiest, he would choose the age of Rome. And maybe he was right. The ruins of Rome may look silent now, but they still speak. Every column, every stone, every road still whispers a story of ambition, sacrifice, and glory. Rome was not built in a day, and it did not fall in one. Because when a civilization is built on discipline, unity, and vision, it becomes more than an empire. It becomes a legacy. And that is why Rome was the greatest empire in history. But greatness always carries a cost. In the next chapter, we will discover how Rome turned its power into a machine, and how that machine forever changed the world. By the time the 1st century BCE arrived, Rome had already grown beyond imagination. It had become a living machine. Every piece of its system worked with purpose. Every citizen, soldier, senator, and slave knew their role. It was not just an empire of swords and shields. It was an empire of systems. A network of order, it stretched across 3 continents. When most kingdoms ruled with fear, Rome ruled with structure. It created laws, built roads, and trained its armies to think, not just to fight. From the highest general to the lowest legionary, Rome turned chaos into rhythm. At the center of this machine was the Roman legion, the most efficient fighting force the world had ever seen. Each legion had around 5,000 soldiers. Every man carried a short sword called the gladius, a large rectangular shield called the scutum, and heavy armor made of iron strips called lorica segmentata. But their real weapon was discipline. A Roman soldier did not question orders. He obeyed. He marched 20 miles a day with 60 pounds of gear. He built roads and forts while still fighting wars. He could dig trenches, raise walls, and build bridges faster than most armies could move. Their formations were precise. The testudo, or tortoise formation, allowed them to move under a wall of shields, protected from arrows. Their strategies were mathematical, their loyalty absolute. As the historian Vegetius wrote in the 4th century CE, victory in war does not come from numbers or chance, but from training, discipline, and constant practice. One man changed the fate of Rome's army forever. His name was Gaius Marius. In 107 BCE, Rome was in crisis. Its enemies were growing stronger, and the army was struggling to find enough men. Marius opened the legions to ordinary citizens who did not own land. In return for service, they would earn money and citizenship. It was a revolutionary idea. The Roman army became a professional force, loyal to its generals and to Rome itself. These soldiers were trained for years. They slept in camps built with perfect order. Every camp had straight roads, a central command area, and defensive walls. It could be built in hours. Even in the middle of nowhere, Rome carried its civilization with it. Marius's reforms made Rome unstoppable. They turned the army into a machine that could move anywhere, fight anyone, and build an empire faster than any civilization before. While the legions conquered new lands, Roman engineers built the backbone of the empire. They designed aqueducts that brought clean water to cities miles away. The Aqua Appia, built in 312 BCE, was one of the first. By the time of Emperor Claudius in 52 CE, Rome had 11 major aqueducts supplying over 200 million gallons of water every day. They built roads so strong that many still exist today. The Via Appia, built in 312 BCE, stretched more than 300 miles from Rome to the southern coast of Italy. These roads connected the empire like veins in a living body. Soldiers, traders, and messages could travel faster than ever before. Communication meant control, and control meant survival. Even the concrete they used was centuries ahead of its time. Roman concrete could harden underwater, something modern science only rediscovered in the 20th century. This technology gave their architecture strength and beauty. The Colosseum, the Pantheon, the aqueducts of Anchises, all still stand as proof that Rome built for eternity. But Rome's true genius was not just in stone and steel. It was in its laws. The Romans believed that justice was the foundation of civilization. They created a legal system that protected property, contracts, and citizenship. The 12 Tables, written in 450 BCE, were the first attempt to make laws public so that no one could claim ignorance. Centuries later, under Emperor Justinian in the 6th century CE, these ideas were refined into the Corpus Juris Civilis, or body of civil law. That code became the model for modern Western legal systems. Every contract signed in America today, every courtroom that values fairness and procedure, owes something to Rome. Rome's empire stretched across 60 million people. To rule it, they built an administrative system more advanced than any before it. Governors were appointed to provinces. Tax systems were standardized. Census records were kept with care. Every citizen had a place in the system. The Roman calendar, introduced by Julius Caesar in 46 BCE, replaced the old lunar cycles with a solar year of 365 days. Even the modern calendar used today, the Gregorian calendar, is a refined version of Caesar's work. Through this structure, Rome achieved stability. People under Roman rule could live, trade, and travel safely. Roads, markets, and justice created unity. And in that unity, the idea of Rome grew stronger. The phrase, "all roads lead to Rome," was not a metaphor. It was geography. From Britain to Syria, every major Roman road connected back to the capital. These roads were built with layers of stone, sand, and gravel, designed to drain water and last for centuries. The system allowed legions to reach any province quickly. Rebellions were crushed before they could grow. Traders moved safely under Roman protection. Along those roads came culture, language, and ideas. Latin became the common tongue of Europe, the foundation of French, Spanish, and Italian. Even English carries hundreds of Latin words in its core. Through its roads, Rome connected humanity itself. Rome understood something few empires ever did. Power lasts longer when people want to belong. Instead of ruling by fear alone, Rome offered citizenship. It was a reward greater than gold. A man who became a Roman citizen gained legal rights, protection, and the chance to rise in society. This system turned conquered enemies into loyal allies. It gave people a reason to defend Rome instead of destroying it. The historian Tacitus once wrote that Rome conquered the world with its culture as much as with its armies. From the smallest village to the grandest city, everyone knew that to be Roman meant to belong to something greater than themselves. Rome mastered not only war, but also the art of influence. They used architecture, sculpture, and literature to shape identity. Triumphal arches celebrated victories. Statues of emperors stood in every forum, reminding people who ruled. Roman poets like Virgil and Horace wrote verses that glorified the empire. The message was clear: Rome was eternal. Rome was divine. Religion was used as a unifying tool. The emperor was seen as chosen by the gods. Later, when Christianity rose, it too became part of that same machine. The faith that once resisted Rome became the faith that defined it. The greatness of Rome did not lie only in what it built, but in how it believed. For centuries, Roman citizens thought of their empire not as a government, but as a destiny. They believed they carried a divine mission to bring order to the world. That belief gave them courage. It made their soldiers unbreakable and their leaders ambitious. It made their people endure hardship for the sake of something bigger. When you study Rome, you do not just see history. You see humanity's endless hunger for power, purpose, and perfection. Rome's machine was not made of gears. It was made of people. Millions of men and women who built, fought, and sacrificed so that one name would echo across time. By the 1st century CE, Rome was not only the center of the world, it was the world itself. Its armies guarded borders that stretched thousands of miles. Its laws shaped nations. Its roads carried culture. Its architecture defined beauty. Every brick, every law, every heartbeat of the empire worked together like a living organism. That is why Rome lasted for more than 1,000 years. It was not built on luck or chance. It was built on design, discipline, and belief. And yet, even the greatest machines have limits. And in that belief, Rome transformed from an empire of soldiers into an empire of reason. Every great empire needs a foundation, and for Rome, that foundation was law. When the Republic was young, Rome was filled with conflict between the rich and the poor. The people demanded fairness. They wanted rules that applied to everyone, not just to the powerful. So in 450 BCE, the laws were written down on 12 bronze tablets and placed in the Forum. They were called the 12 Tables. It was the first time in Roman history that laws were made public for all citizens to see. The message was clear. Justice was no longer a secret of the elite. It was a right of the people. Centuries later, as the empire expanded, Roman law evolved with it. It covered property, contracts, inheritance, and citizenship. It protected trade and controlled power. The idea that no man is above the law, not even the emperor, came from Rome. Today, the legal systems of Europe and much of the Western world still carry the DNA of Roman law. Before emperors, before crowns, Rome was a republic. The Senate was its heart, a council of noble men chosen to guide the state. In the beginning, their power was balanced by two consuls, elected each year to lead the government and the army. This system was built on the idea of checks and balances. No one man could rule forever. Power was divided, debated, and decided by law. It was messy, it was political, and it was human. But it worked. For almost 500 years, Rome's republic survived through compromise and ambition. The philosopher Cicero once said, "The welfare of the people is the ultimate law." For him, and for many Romans, politics was not only about control, it was about responsibility. And that belief created one of the most sophisticated political systems the world had ever seen. But ambition is both the fire and the poison of empires. As Rome conquered more lands, its generals grew powerful. They had armies loyal not to the Senate, but to them personally. Men like Marius, Sulla, Pompey, and Julius Caesar rose from the Republic's rules to its ruin. Caesar, brilliant and bold, crossed the Rubicon River in 49 BCE and marched on Rome itself. It was the moment when one man challenged the system that had built the empire. When Caesar declared himself dictator for life, the Senate feared that the Republic had died. And in 44 BCE, on the Ides of March, his own senators killed him to save the Republic. But it was already too late. The old balance was gone. The Republic had fallen, and the age of emperors had begun. After years of civil war, a new leader rose from the ashes, Gaius Octavius, known to history as Augustus. He was Caesar's adopted son, but more importantly, he was a master of control. He ended the chaos and brought peace, not by destroying the Senate, but by mastering it. Augustus created a new order called the Principate. He ruled as first among equals, keeping the appearance of the Republic while holding absolute power. He reformed taxes, built temples, restored the army, and started massive public works. He created a police force, a fire brigade, and a postal system. For the first time, the empire felt stable. The people called it the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Under Augustus, Rome entered its golden age. Art, architecture, and literature flourished. Virgil wrote the Aeneid, a national epic that told Romans they were chosen to rule the world. This was the moment when power and philosophy became one. Rome did not invent philosophy, but it gave philosophy purpose. Where the Greeks asked, "What is truth?" the Romans asked, "How should we live?" They loved Stoicism, a philosophy of reason and control. It taught that strength comes from within, that virtue is the highest good, and that no one can control your mind except you. Leaders like Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's greatest emperors, were living examples of Stoic belief. In his Meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It was a philosophy born for rulers and soldiers alike. Stoicism made Roman leaders disciplined, patient, and just. At the same time, Rome became a center of art, architecture, and education. Its libraries held the knowledge of Greece, Egypt, and Persia. Its cities were filled with theaters, baths, and forums where ideas were shared freely. The Roman mind valued knowledge as much as conquest. The architects of Roman civilization were not only soldiers or emperors, they were thinkers. Cicero, the orator, shaped Roman politics through his words. He believed that wisdom and morality were the foundations of leadership. Seneca, the philosopher, taught emperors to rule with reason. Pliny the Elder documented nature, geography, and history, preserving knowledge for centuries. Vitruvius wrote the first great book on architecture, describing the balance of function, beauty, and proportion. These men built ideas that lasted longer than marble. They gave the empire something stronger than walls. They gave it wisdom. Rome had another kind of intelligence, the ability to absorb and improve everything it touched. When it conquered Greece, it did not destroy Greek culture. It adopted it. Greek gods became Roman gods. Greek art became Roman art. Greek education became Roman education. From the Egyptians, they learned engineering. From the Persians, they learned administration. From the Carthaginians, they learned trade. Rome was not a destroyer of civilizations. It was their collector. This ability to integrate made it flexible, creative, and adaptable. It allowed Rome to evolve constantly, even as it grew older. Inside the empire, cities were the symbols of civilization. Every Roman city followed the same plan: a central forum, public baths, amphitheaters, and temples. They had running water, public toilets, and even heated floors. Citizens gathered in forums to debate politics and philosophy. Merchants sold goods from Africa, Asia, and Europe. Families attended gladiator games, plays, and festivals. Rome created a lifestyle that mixed discipline with pleasure. It was a world of structure and spectacle, of order and enjoyment. To be Roman was not just a title, it was a way of life. When the empire began to fade, its body was broken, but its mind survived. Roman law shaped Europe. Roman roads shaped trade. Roman architecture shaped cities. Roman thought shaped leadership. The Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and even the modern idea of the Republic all trace their roots to Rome. In every courthouse, in every parliament, in every city built on reason and order, there is still a whisper of the Roman mind. Every empire believes it will last forever. Rome was no different. But even the strongest walls crack, not from the outside first, but from within. By the 3rd century CE, the Roman Empire was massive. From Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Mesopotamia, one government ruled more than 70 million people. But behind the marble and glory, the system was breaking. Political chaos became normal. Between 235 and 284 CE, more than 20 emperors ruled, most of them killed by rivals or their own soldiers. Inflation destroyed the economy, and civil wars drained the treasury. Plagues spread, trade collapsed, and trust faded. The people who once called themselves Roman began to lose faith in Rome itself. When Emperor Diocletian came to power in 284 CE, he knew one man could no longer rule such a giant world. He made a decision that changed history. He divided the empire into two parts. The Western Roman Empire ruled from Rome, and the Eastern Roman Empire ruled from the city of Byzantium. This new system was called the Tetrarchy, the rule of four. It was meant to bring stability, but it also marked the beginning of separation. In the East, wealth and culture thrived. In the West, corruption and invasion grew. The balance of Rome shifted forever. Then came Constantine, the Great. He rose to power in 306 CE and fought his way through rivals until he became the sole emperor in 324 CE. Constantine made one of the most powerful decisions in Roman history. He moved the capital from Rome to Byzantium, renaming it Constantinople. The shift was more than political. It was symbolic. The heart of Rome moved eastward. Constantine also did something revolutionary. In 313 CE, he issued the Edict of Milan, granting freedom of religion to all citizens. For the first time, Christianity, once persecuted, was allowed to grow. By the time of his death in 337 CE, Christianity was spreading across the empire. Rome, once ruled by pagan gods, was becoming the center of a new faith. The empire that once conquered with legions now ruled through belief. Temples turned into churches. Pagan rituals were replaced by prayers. In 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius I declared Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. The old gods of Jupiter, Mars, and Venus disappeared, and the cross became the symbol of Rome. The transformation was complete. The empire of iron had become the empire of faith. But faith could not stop decay. In 410 CE, a moment came that shocked the world. The Visigoths, led by Alaric, sacked Rome. For the first time in 800 years, the Eternal City was taken by an enemy. The Western Roman Empire never fully recovered. Barbarian invasions continued from the north. The Vandals captured North Africa, cutting off grain supplies. The Huns under Attila burned through the frontiers. In 476 CE, the last Roman emperor in the west, Romulus Augustulus, was overthrown by a Germanic general named Odoacer. The Western Roman Empire was gone. But the idea of Rome did not die. While the West fell into darkness, the East continued to shine. The Eastern Roman Empire, now called the Byzantine Empire, kept the Roman system alive for another 1,000 years. It had Roman law, Roman administration, and Roman pride. Its emperors called themselves Basileus Romaeon, Emperor of the Romans. The greatest of them, Justinian I, ruled from 527 to 565 CE. He rebuilt the city after riots, constructed the Hagia Sophia, and reformed Roman law into the Corpus Juris Civilis, the body of civil law. That legal code would later shape Europe's justice systems for centuries. Even as Latin faded and Greek took over, Byzantium still called itself Rome, and as long as Constantinople stood, the Roman flame burned. But in the lands of the fallen West, Rome's spirit took a new form. The Catholic Church rose from the ruins, carrying Roman organization and discipline into religion. The Pope became a kind of emperor of the soul, ruling from the city that once ruled the world. Roman roads became the pathways for Christian pilgrims. Roman buildings became churches and cathedrals. The Latin language became the sacred language of worship. When Charlemagne was crowned Emperor of the Romans in 800 CE by the Pope, it was not just a ceremony. It was a declaration that Rome still lived in faith, in law, and in ambition. Centuries later, the Renaissance brought Rome back again. Artists and thinkers looked to the ruins and saw not decay, but inspiration. Men like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo studied Roman art and architecture. Scholars rediscovered the writings of Cicero, Seneca, and Pliny. The philosophy of Stoicism and the discipline of Roman engineering returned to Europe. Rome had been reborn, not in marble, but in the human mind. The Renaissance turned ancient memory into modern progress. Rome's influence did not stop there. When the founding fathers of the United States designed their republic, they studied Rome. The Senate, the Republic, the idea of civic duty, all came from the Roman model. The architecture of Washington, D.C. echoes Roman temples. The Capitol itself carries the name and the design of ancient Rome. In Europe, the idea of centralized law and citizenship still reflects Roman tradition. Even the words justice, Senate, and Republic are Roman at their core. Rome's legacy became the backbone of the Western world. So did Rome really fall? Its armies are gone. Its emperors are dust. But its laws, its architecture, its language, its ideas, all live within us. Rome did not vanish. It evolved. It lives in every city with straight roads and public order. It lives in every court where justice is served by law, not by power. It lives in every nation that believes in unity through citizenship. Rome's legacy is not made of stone. It is made of memory, ambition, and discipline. Every time a society seeks order from chaos, it follows the Roman way. Every time a builder lays a brick with precision, he follows Roman art. Every time a leader swears to serve the people, he echoes a Roman oath. Rome was never just an empire. It was a lesson in greatness. The empire fell, but the idea did not. Because the greatest power Rome ever had was not its army or wealth. It was its ability to shape the world long after its fall. 2,000 years have passed since the Roman legions marched across the world. The emperors are gone, the marble has cracked, and the voices of the Forum have faded. But when we walk through any great city, when we speak of law, order, or civilization, we are still walking in the shadow of Rome. Rome was not only built with stone and steel, it was built with ideas. Ideas that have outlived kingdoms, wars, and centuries. Rome understood something most empires never did. That true greatness is not in what you conquer, but in what you create that cannot be destroyed. Power was Rome's heartbeat. But Rome learned, painfully, that power alone is never enough. In its early days, Rome used power to survive. Later, it used power to control. But at its greatest, it used power to build, to make life better for its citizens, to bring roads, water, and laws to the farthest corners of its empire. The philosopher Seneca once said, "He who has great power should use it lightly." That was the Roman lesson. Power is a tool, not a throne. When used with reason, it creates civilization. When used with greed, it destroys it. This balance between ambition and restraint is what made Rome endure. And it is still what defines every strong nation today. The Romans believed that discipline was the foundation of greatness. Their soldiers trained harder, marched longer, and fought with precision. Their engineers measured every arch and stone with care. Their statesmen debated for days to make one law perfect. It was this sense of duty or virtues that made Rome different. A Roman citizen was taught to serve the state before himself, to protect his family, his people, and his honor. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wasted no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. That was Rome's heart, not just to speak of greatness, but to live it. Discipline turned ordinary men into legions. Duty turned one city into a world. Rome was never afraid to change. When it met new cultures, it learned from them. When old systems failed, it rebuilt them. That ability to adapt kept the empire alive for centuries. When the republic could no longer control its size, it became an empire. When paganism faded, it embraced Christianity. When the West collapsed, it lived on in the East. Rome was not perfect, but it was never static. It evolved constantly, shaping itself to survive. That is why its influence never truly ended. It became part of every civilization that came after. For all its wars and conquests, Rome dreamed of unity. It believed that peace was not the absence of war, but the presence of law and order. The Pax Romana was not just a slogan. It was a vision of stability across different languages, cultures, and peoples. Under one system, one law, and one identity, Rome, that dream still lives today. Every time nations work together through diplomacy instead of war, that is Rome's legacy. Every time a government builds roads, aqueducts, or welfare systems for its people, that is Rome's influence. Rome taught the world that unity is built, not declared. Rome also revealed the truth of human nature, that greatness and corruption often walk together, that the same ambition which builds empires can also destroy them. When Rome was young, it was humble, disciplined, and united. When it grew powerful, it became greedy, divided, and proud. The same fire that made it rise also made it fall. This cycle still exists today. Every nation that grows too confident, every leader that seeks power over principle, repeats Rome's mistakes. That is why Rome is not just history. It is a mirror, a reflection of what humanity can become at its best and what it must avoid at its worst. What makes a legacy last? Not wealth, not power, not monuments. Rome lasted because it built systems of thought, because it educated minds, recorded knowledge, and shared it. The libraries, the laws, the languages, the philosophy, these became the seeds of modern civilization. Even after its fall, scholars in monasteries copied Roman texts by hand, preserving the wisdom of an empire long gone. That is why, when Europe rose again during the Renaissance, Rome was still there, waiting to guide it. Greatness is not measured by how long you stand, but by what remains after you fall. And Rome's ideas still stand taller than its ruins. Today, when a court declares justice, it echoes Roman law. When a senator speaks in parliament, he stands in the shadow of the Roman Senate. When architects design a city, they follow the geometry and symmetry of Roman builders. Even our calendars, months, and languages carry Rome within them. January for Janus, March for Mars, July for Julius, August for Augustus. Our alphabet is Roman. Our roads still follow Roman paths. Our governments still chase Roman ideals. Rome is not gone. It simply changed its name. Rome teaches one timeless truth. Civilization survives not by power, but by principle. When leaders serve justice, when citizens value duty, when societies balance ambition with humility, greatness follows. But when greed, corruption, and division take hold, even the strongest empire can crumble. Rome fell so that the world could learn this lesson. Every generation must decide what kind of Rome it will build. A Rome of virtue or a Rome of vanity? A Rome of builders or a Rome of destroyers? The choice always returns, just as history always repeats. So why was Rome the greatest empire? Because it built the foundation for everything that came after. Because it proved that ideas can outlive armies. Because it showed that greatness is not a moment, but a legacy. Every time humanity builds something greater than itself, Rome lives again. In the bridges that connect us, in the laws that protect us, and in the hope that guides us. The real Rome was never just a place. It was a belief that through reason, courage, and unity, humans can create something eternal. The ruins of the Colosseum stand silent now, but if you listen closely, you can still hear the echo of a world that refused to die. That echo lives in us, in our ambition, in our discipline, in our endless search for greatness. Rome was built by hands, but sustained by hearts. And as long as we dream, as long as we build, Rome will never fall. Because the greatest empire is not the one that conquered the world. It is the one that taught the world how to build it.